Hi, this is Stephen, and this is Astro Indicator Update, Excursions into Practical Astrology. And today is Tuesday, October 22nd, and this is episode 20. So what are we looking at today? Well, astrologically, there are some things going on in the precious metals markets, in Bitcoin and in the Dow Jones. I just wanted to quickly look at those markets and the astrology and the technical analysis. In addition, I did a video a while back on Tulsi Gabbard, and within the last week there was this Twitter war between her and Hillary, and I think Tulsi sort of demonstrated her ability to punch back and she is sort of a warrior at heart. And when I looked at her chart, a minor asteroid called Lilith stood out, and so I'm going to briefly talk about that. So let's get right into the markets. Here's the gold price chart, and this last vertical line, the vertical lines, I've removed a number of my vertical lines just for simplicity, but the vertical lines are related to astrology. The other lines are technical, standard, conventional technical analysis lines, trend lines, support and resistance. Here we have what's called the MACD, the MACD. It's getting very oversold. This is the RSI. It is sort of somewhat oversold. This can continue in this zone right here for a while, just like it did back here, without it, immediately turning up or the prices turning up. But we are in oversold area. In addition, in the gold market, the prices come down to a trend line that I've drawn right here, this green trend line. Moreover, it has come down to a blue line, which should provide some support. If this market breaks down, it's going to continue down, probably to this level. However, and this is the big however, today in gold, this vertical line should produce a reversal, should produce a bounce, and it may be too early to tell. We'll have to look at it. The primary indicator to play off of, if you're speculating in the markets, is this trend line, because then people who just follow technical analysis will think that this market is heading lower. But I'm doing this video today because the gold market and the silver market play off of each other, and silver has something going on astrologically tomorrow. And so let's look at silver. Move higher tomorrow? We'll see. We'll find out. So again, the vertical lines, you can see some history here of, some change in trend. Well, tomorrow, silver has some astrology going on that often indicates a bounce, a higher price. We also have a trend line that it's broken. This is sometimes people might refer to this as a falling wedge formation, which is bullish when it breaks above this trend line. And it already has. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, all these markets are manipulated to some degree. And, the major question is to what degree, they can override the inherent market, the trading that goes on more freely in the markets. But like gold, silver is getting to very oversold territory. Highly likely sometime in the near future we're going to get a bounce. In the astrology for gold and silver, December looks strong as well. So we have today in gold, tomorrow in silver, and then later on in December, these markets have some strong astrology. On top of that, we are in a seasonal trend in the precious metals, which very often is bullish, and prices normally through November, December, January, normally prices go up. So we will find out. So let's look at Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin has been tracking this channel right here. Bounce, 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 and then we came down and bounced here. We are resting on a blue support line. In fact, a couple are right in this vicinity. And again, this vertical line deals with the astrology of Bitcoin. And this is happening this Thursday and Friday. Okay? And this is often a bullish indicator. We have already bounced 1, 2, 3 times right at this level. And sort of similar to gold sitting on a support level, if we break through this support level, we're probably headed down here. But the astrology in the very short term is positive. So if you can hold off, wait to see what happens Thursday and Friday. And if we get a bounce, plus or minus 1 day around that date, those dates, we could head higher. And that's sort of one of the main points of this video. Well, let's look at the Dow Jones. Well, the Dow Jones, again, I kind of combine the technical analysis indicators, traditional stuff, trend lines, support lines, moving averages or momentum indicators, which are down here. This is today. This is Tuesday, October 22nd. And, when you look at both the S&P 500, the Dow Jones here, I'm using a proxy. I'm using DIA, which is an ETF. It did not close higher above this green trend line today. And I think it maybe should have, given the astrology. And that's a negative indicator. The S&P 500, which I don't have the chart for here, it also looked like a potential reversal day today. Now, you don't see a lot of vertical lines over here. And this, the big qualifier with the Dow Jones is that, it's really manipulated. But I just read today that the number of corporate buybacks, which has really been the main driving force in the stock market for the last 10 years, corporations buying their own stock, oftentimes borrowing money from the Fed, and not putting it into capital improvements, but just buying their stock so that their CEOs can cash out at a higher level. That activity has been declining rapidly very recently. And so that's not a good sign if you are in the markets. So again, there's not a lot of astrology that I think is bullish coming up. It should have happened today and it didn't. So it's, the weight of evidence, at least from my indicators, are that this market could drift lower from here. Okay, so what happened in the political theater and the drama wars that we have? Well, a while back I did Tulsi Gabbard's astrology, her natal chart, and it just astounded me at how much it embodied sort of a peaceful warrior, real sort of I think in that video I said she should be an MMA, a mixed martial arts, fighter or something. But she had strong Venus. She had Venus. I'll show you her chart in a minute. But she had, Venus, Sun, Mars conjunction in Aries, my God, opposite Pluto. Very strong-willed person. She's a fighter. And Hillary Clinton comes out a week ago, 6 days ago or so, and says, she's a Russian asset, which I think is, BS. And Tulsi, this is what Tulsi replied. At least this is part of her Twitter response, okay? She said, "Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know it was always you." And it went on and on. And, I think here's someone, speaking the truth. And when people hear the truth, and politicians, they speak the truth, while they're campaigning, and then they use, facts to their own advantage or distort them once they're in office. But let's look at Tulsi here. She seems to be, a truth speaker, at least to a certain extent. This is her natal chart in the middle here. I just mentioned natally she has Sun, Mars, Venus conjunction in Aries. This is very independent person. She has the energy, initiative, to speak out, basically. And everything, and the way I do astrology is you just have to kind of look at things in context and see what type of person you're dealing with. Well, she has natally this threesome conjunction opposite Pluto, okay? And so her personal energy is often dealing with the power elements in society and confronting them. Okay, there's many other levels we could take this, but politically, I see this going on. Well, this is a chart that transits on the outer ring here of 6 days ago, and right when this Twitter war took place, the sun for everybody was at 24 degrees Libra, and it was activating this Pluto. So we had, sort of an underhanded, I don't know how to describe it, but just sort of a, underhanded power play by Hillary, which I see as being represented by Pluto, being activated in her chart, and Tulsi comes out and, fighter that she is, she counterpunches. And so that was what was being energized. In addition, the sun's going to move on, but in addition, Tulsi is dealing with this on an ongoing basis, because the transit of Pluto over here, where I'm pointing, is squaring her personal planets, squaring Pluto. So this dark manipulative energy in her world, she's having to contend with that. Okay, so this is what Pluto squares Sun, Mars. Fortunately, by transit, she has Jupiter in trine 120 degrees away from her personal planets. So she has an ally, an energetic, positive, ally within her, so to speak, that is helping her deal with this situation. And I see that as the Jupiter, the positive, the sense of faith and being on the right side of things and things of that nature. Well, then I also happened to, for a friend asked me where her Lilith was in her chart. I'm going to talk about Lilith for a minute. So Lilith is down here. It's a minor asteroid. I have not worked with Lilith a lot. I worked with the primary 4 asteroids, Chiron, Vesta, so forth. And I don't really think people have, even though people have looked into the asteroids for 50 years, I haven't seen an in-depth study of, many, many hundreds of people and how Lilith operates. But just in my mind, Lilith is kind of a warrior. It's a disruptive energy. It's an energy that does not like to follow the norms of society, okay? And also it's an independent energy. So I see it as, if I was going to generalize it for whatever gender, it is sort of the disruptor warrior energy with a feminine, element to it. Well, lo and behold, Tulsi has Lilith conjunct Pluto opposite all this all her personal planets up here. So it just intensifies this independence that she has and her ability to speak truth to power, essentially. Lastly, I put up here Venus square the moon, because on the day that these transits are of last week, on the day that Hillary was writing these, she's a Putin pawn or whatever, for several days, Venus was squaring Tulsi's moon. So when these attacks happened on Twitter, she took this personally, and her pride was probably definitely hurt. And so, I see her as a counterpuncher, and she came back and she, did not mince her words. So here's Hillary's chart. In the middle, I think Hillary was born in the morning. She has a heavy 12th house emphasis, Scorpio. Her desire for power and control and everything is way up here in the 9th house, which deals with politics. I'm not a Hillary fan. And but what's going on in Hillary's chart, just briefly? Well, the main transit she has is Uranus out here in the 6th, in the house of health. Maybe something going on neurologically with Hillary, which is related to Uranus, is opposite her sun and will be for many more months. And it is sort of revealing, maybe to her and to the world, certain facts, certain truths, about, who she is and what she really represents. Uranus has that, function of being, of sort of delivering objectivity to the person or to the people around that person, seeing things as they truly are. In addition to that, Hillary has sort of a complicated transit. Here, outer ring is the transits. The two kind of heavies for everybody, wherever it's positioned, Saturn and Pluto are transiting kind of together. Well, for Hillary, Saturn and Pluto are 150 degrees away from this dynamic in her natal chart. I would say her sort of power, aggressive dynamic in the political field. On top of that, we have, by transit, Neptune down here is also 150 degrees away from these energies. And so this is really challenging for her. So I see it as being, her sense of loss, her sense of, dissolution, her power base is crumbled. And for me, in the way I do astrology, I see the transits describing that. This you could draw a triangle here, but these outer energies, one deals with dissolution. There's some positive things we could talk about. Maybe she's having more of a spiritual, awakening in some fashion. But very often things dissolve under a Neptune transit. But it's combined with the Saturn-Pluto, which can, be very, very stressful and, feel, undermine and eliminate and eradicate and completely blow apart structures that we thought were more permanent in our lives. So anyway, that's it for today. That's a little look at Hillary. I could come back to her. The one interesting thing about also both of these people, Tulsi and Hillary, is that they have very little earth energy. Tulsi has a lot of fire and air, and Hillary has a lot of water and fire. You just have to actually get down to kind of the minor asteroids to see any earth. And so, people around them can bring some sense of, practicality or stability or, solidity, to their lives. But particularly Hillary here, I mean, she just has a lot of water in her chart, heavy 12th house emphasis, and which, she's a very private person, but she can get lost in her dream world, basically. And so, there are elements to Hillary. I could probably say some nice things about her, but the sense of maybe being in denial about where, what her potentials are in the future, this is, to me, really spelled out in her chart. Okay, that's it for today. Again, my name is Stephen. I've been doing this for a long time. I have a master's in psychology. I also show my artwork. I've been trading the financial markets and using astrology for 25 years. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And I do these somewhat irregularly, so if you subscribe, you'll get notified. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching.